Yes.
Alright, yes.
I don't know which one to look at.
Just do this and talk like this the whole time.
Alright.
Try to read my lips. No.
You do a Trump.
Power flaps.
That just looks like a selfie.
Okay.
I guess we talk about. So, all right, Neil. We
Yes,
are talking
Walter.
about selflessness. We are talking about. Well, we definitely don't want to focus on COVID because there's tons of that.
Yeah.
We're talking about what humanity needs most. And you were bringing up the topic of being selfless and finding that connection with everybody. I don't know. Help me out with that.
Yeah, no, I'm year is different, and this past year was interesting, and this year is going to be even more. And like, just, you know, one of the things that even, you know, whether it's my wife's been talking about or it's been on my mind lately is with everything, whether it be social media or, you know, the people watching, you know, television programming and such. There's a theme that's going on, and I don't think it really aligns with being selfless and being neutral. It sort of like seems like it's feeding one way or the other. So from my standpoint, I feel like that just gives even more arrows and eat at Joe signs lit up that says selflessness. And like ultimately, you know, a lot of, whether you want to call them shamans, philosophers, yogis, whatever, people that getting in touch with themselves, going inward, we'll talk about ultimately the key is ultimate totality, selflessness. All selflessness. Lose yourself. I mean, I guess that sounds really crazy, doesn't it?
Well, I mean,
but you know,
2021.
right? You know, reshape yourself. It's either this or that. What's your choice? You know, I don't think there's any sort of middle ground anymore. And if we were to consider that in most situations in life that you've experienced before, if you don't have middle ground, that means you got to choose one way or the other, and whatever that means. So that's really what I was going to say.
There's a lot packaged in what you said, and I'm trying to always try to tie them all together. Sometimes it's doable, sometimes it's not, but definitely think that you know, if anybody has any kind of critical thinking whatsoever, when they go on social media, they're going to see themes and patterns arising, like your shirt. I don't know if you want to show that off because it's a little chilly. I'm trying not to shiver.
Yeah, Fibonacci
pattern
sequence.
pattern sneaker,
That's
pattern
nice.
seeker. You know, there is a pattern on social media, and people need to become more aware of it in order to realize the division. And it's not hard to see, folks. I mean,
right.
I mean, we've seen that all through the political year with candidates, and recently with the Capitol storming, and or not the Capitol, the siege, as they have called it. And so people are much easier or much more prone to saying stupid and hateful things on social media, and staying in that low vibrational way of thinking, that reptilian way of thinking, reptilian brain way of thinking. That's a biological, scientific perspective. That's not something that we're making up here, because there's so many things floating around about reptilians, and people get divided over that too. But ultimately, it's something that we need to address as a species. And it goes beyond culture and nations and national creeds.
It encompasses everything, because everything is connected. So if we were to keep that, you know, as our theme, which it really should be, because it is, but there's patterns to everything. And if you were thinking about a standpoint of, man, I got to run a whole country and be responsible for a whole country and maybe a whole world. And wow, if most people aren't even aware that every choice they make each moment of each day of each year going forward is building a pattern, and everything is patterns. Everything, things just don't fall into place. They're supposed to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think about it from that standpoint, social media, television programming, whatever is fueling what's to believe, whatever the target belief is, whether we're saying that happens or not. Besides that, it's a pattern, and if you want to control, you control the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but in order to control the pattern, people have to become more aware of everything, and including the pattern.
And that's the key. I mean, if you think about all of us for so long have been relying on this and that, most people may not know as much life skills as they may have known 20 to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And how would that translate in certain situations? I'm not saying gloom and doom apocalypse, but take away certain factors of understanding and education, What? Oh my gosh, it almost like paints a picture of the Dark Ages where we had peasants.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They weren't allowed to read. And why weren't they allowed to read? Because they couldn't be educated.
Right. It was because it was all about, once again, control.
Mm-hmm.
But and maybe that's one way that people can realize the destructive nature of selfishness, is realizing that selfishness is used to divide people and keep people apart or separated, and that's a big part of serfdom, is keeping people in line and keeping people in control, and of course we're kind of straying off with that direction and not talking about selflessness, and I'm actually like trying not to shiver.
Oh, so I'm shivering right now. It is cold. It's fine. I don't mind. I'm just trying not to think about it right now. But selflessness, achieving basically to where you're absolutely neutral.
The good aspects of all major religions really focuses on is that selflessness and that unification with, ultimately whatever you see God as. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, eternal bliss in a Buddhist way, or heavenly living in heaven.
Yeah.
Eventually working towards that. Either way, it's about unification with who and what we really are and what we're connected to, without getting into religious and spiritual terms, which you were saying the other day about how the word spiritual is another one of those words that divide so many people.
Right, because they, whether it be religious based or however you want to, I'll even just toss out the word cult or whatever belief system you want to create around something. If it's your way, it,
mm-hmm.
But maybe the other person, you've been told that what they believe may not be real because of this or that or the other, but definitely separating, spirit. But what is spirit?
Mm-hmm.
What is everything?
Yeah,
energy.
Definitely something we could talk a whole lot about, there is so much to say about that topic, especially in the day and age in which we live, with the division. But going back to what we were talking about with social media and that advertisement, as the British people say, the English, the advertisement throughout social media of it's all about me. It's a culture of me, and that is the one-way ticket to the other direction of selflessness,
mm-hmm.
where I don't care about you, I don't care about you. All I care about is me. For some reason, I kept thinking about that clip in Coming to America, the barber shop, where he gets frustrated and he cusses everybody out and says, F you, and F you. Who's next? That's this. And of course, that has different applications, but, ultimately, it's so much that we're seeing is where people are so divided, and a lot of it is due, in my opinion, and I think you can say that you've got some sort of perspective on this too, that
Mm-hmm.
it is almost kind of strange how it seems to be used against us.
Yeah.
That division is being used against us, and not realizing the power of selflessness, and how that brings so many positive things into a person's life, whether it's healing, mental, physical, emotional, just an all-around better life when you realize that you're connected to a lot more than your underwear and your pants and what you eat every day, although that is important, but we're connected to so much more.
Yeah, understanding
people need
what
to realize
matters.
that.
Understanding what really, really matters.
What really matters, and
in
how
the
can we
scheme
have
of
the
things.
peace that passes understanding?
And I can't kick this image and thought. Of course, we're kids of the '80s, so to speak. But when I think of division and dividing somebody, and I think of something that's trying to come together to, to conquer or shift power, or I'll just go ahead and say it. Of course, take care of evil when we were kids. G.I. Joe, Transformers, all these cartoons.
So much of that.
But the one thing that comes to mind is Voltron, and I always like it because even in the song, when they're coming together in the theme, they talk about, I'll form the head. But if the head's not there, they're not together. They're not going to they're not going to be Voltron. They're still going to be the little, what are they, like cats and different animals. But
separate entities.
Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. And if we can all see each other,
supernatural superhero force.
Right. And if we can all see each other as the same and come together, we can be amazing for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about war or hurting each other. I'm talking about growing together.
Right.
And I think ultimately, being selfless opens your eyes to that greater understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So let's search for selflessness and find ourselves.
Mm-hmm. In the process, find the true self.
Yes.
Our individual true self that's really not just individual. It's collective. That was another thing that we were talking about. What to talk about with selflessness and the collective selflessness of humanity. And the other thing that you were talking about was reshaping ourselves. Yep. And how that is a part of selflessness, finding that new way of doing things and thinking and interacting. Oh my God, once again, I know we're trying to avoid COVID talk, but I think it's pretty safe to say that anybody who goes into a store these days feels, and with us identifying with being more sensitive to energy and all of that, and yeah, man, we're just like getting into new agey stuff here, but seriously, anybody can see the fact, or anybody can see that interactions between people has changed. People are afraid to get near each other, and if they do get near each other, it's usually in an aggressive manner, like F you, you're not wearing a mask, or F you, you're wearing a mask, or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And a part of that reshaping is that we have to confront that head on, to where we get past that separation and not hold it against people, the fear that they have about whatever perspective they have, because we're not going to talk about that here, but ultimately, I think we can all agree that this time that we're going through has divided people even more, even if it's in a practice or a way for people to be quarantined from each other, and as a result, people have become more distant from each other, and it's not just physical anymore; it's emotional, and it's mental separation. So definitely a big part of
it's all these things, and it just comes to mind. And man, I hate jumping. I hate that my mind jumps to extremes.
There's a lot to say,
but when I think about not seeing people for a year or two, which is a choice in some ways, but yet connected to an opinion and this virus or whatever you want to call it. or she chooses to believe, and then if something happens crazy where, let's say, a power grid gets knocked out or something like that, and there's no power and people are scurrying trying to find things, Joe Schmo doesn't recognize me anymore, and I have a mask on, or I don't. And what does that do? That puts us as two animals in a cage. And if we understand that, as far as humanity is concerned, then we don't want to go there.
I think we're going to have to carry this into another sit-down conversation for another day, because there's so much to talk about that.
Oh, gosh.
With that. And it's funny you bring that up, because I have really contemplated a lot, you know, in how we think, and many of you guys probably think out there too, about just over-processing and overthinking everything these days. But, you know, what if a true hardship came to humanity? What if power grids got knocked out? What if? Anybody who has an imagination can vouch for the fact that they've gone down the what if avenue. And it can be a pretty scary place, but what if something really hard came our way? Would we survive? Would we survive, or would we evolve in some kind of way? Would we go through a really dark period in our history where people turn into animals? And
I'll tell you one thing:
the Walking Dead world. All of a sudden,
one thing is for sure: we need each other, and that's what it comes down to.
I think that this time really proves that, and it can if people are open to it. But that's just, you know, about being consciously aware of things.
It's cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really just comes down, that ties in the neutrality standpoint for me from an opinion. Yes, I believe this, you believe that, but let's come together. I mean, you start singing some Beatles and John Lennon right now, but for real.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I kept thinking about the other one, the Youngbloods. But Beatles have come together.
Oh, yeah, that's a good song,
right
too.
Right now, over me.
But, me, one. We are all one.
That's a good way to see this.
What if we're just projections of our true selves somewhere else, you know, in a body, in a skin suit? But who knows, right?
Definitely got to keep an open mind. I think that's another thing that we learn through all of this, is that we have to keep an open mind. And, you know, I don't know how long this will be relevant for people. Hopefully not too long that this particular point will be relevant, because I hope to see humanity get past this shit. But, you know,
let's transform together.
right. We've got to become more consciously aware of the stupid things that we put in each other's ways, and come together.
Yeah, let's
and
just
agree to disagree even, and be able to be willing to take, you know, positive, constructive criticism from one another, if that's what it takes. But either way, what you were saying earlier, you need other people, just like a couple needs each other in a healthy relationship. Imagine that with all of the people who break up so quickly in this country. And there's no judgment there, of course, but it's just about realizing the need for another person in your life, and other people who care about you. And likewise, they need you. We need each other. And, you know, it's kind of like when people were quarantined too. Who's going to bring them groceries? They had to depend on somebody who loved them enough to bring them stuff and to check in on them.
You said it right there with the best word of all, love. Enough love to give the charge to do things, which makes everything go round. Money don't make nothing go round. It's love that makes it go round.
And just another part of the illusion.
Right, and if we're just vibrational light particles.
Well, what is love? Baby, don't... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, this is when you start. This is when you sing.
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Not today. I might sound like a sheep if I'm singing.
Baby, don't hurt me. Now I'm not going to get that song in my head for the rest of the day, but love is the most powerful thing.
What is love? How can we define that for
a vibration,
for people?
A frequency?
Is it a
feeling?
Could we call it it's like, you know, it's funny because I was just about to say, could it be a positive virus? You know, like people say, the love bug. And of course, I think of Herbie when we were growing up, those old movies. Most of you guys probably don't know what that movie is, but Herbie, or was it Kirby? No, it's Herbie.
It was Herbie.
Herbie, the little Volkswagen
Herbie the love bug.
The love bug.
That was alive. It was a
How can we catch the love bug? How can we spread the love bug? What is love?
How can we charge our man, that's the right word for this, because I don't want to say love sacks or love package, but how can we charge this, how can we learn to make something and fill it with love, charge it with love, like almost like how you charge your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you plug it into the wall. Man, we got to have some sort of charger for that. Oh, meditation, listening to nothing but yourself, and then learning that a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Why I just yelled at this person because they said this or wore that or believe this,
which takes us back to the selflessness and the need for selflessness, and the fact that we're most people are operating out of selfishness. I mean, I know we all.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we're higher than thou, but a lot of people do operate blindly out of selfishness, and you know, a big part of it is what you were just saying about what you were saying about.
I was watching this airplane that was going overhead, and I totally didn't even think about it. But you know, as far as you know, learning that. Now, of course, talking about love, I'm backtracking now because I was really just watching a plane fly overhead.
I started watching it too, and I just got lost in staring at the cloud here, watching the sunset.
But ultimately, you know, if love was what you said was a positive virus, you know, a virus of positivity. Understanding, man, that even all this technology I got around me and everything that I think I need, I don't need. What I need is love, and I need connection, because human beings need that.
And I think both of us can see that in our professions. You know, we see that every freaking day in our professions. Maybe one day we'll get into that, but ultimately we see it. And I think everybody works with other people see that if they're going to be somebody who's going to be trying to be a positive influence and impact on other people, they see that that's the opposite of what most people are putting out in the workplace environment. And it is about survival. It's about protecting the ego, and that's something else we can talk about. And so vastly interpreted what the ego is, but ultimately it does interfere with this collective selflessness that people have to realize. And that, you know, it's just something I keep thinking about. I don't want to keep bringing up COVID, but I mean, it's just like this right here. I mean, how many times people put their hands on other people? They don't. So many people out of fear, even their own loved ones. And, you know, once again, not to get into all of the, you know, what you should and shouldn't do in order to protect yourself, but just the very fact that it has impacted human touch, that we have even lost yet. Well, I hope we haven't lost it, but I don't think we have, but we have lost a large portion of our perception of touch, which is directly connected to our connection to selflessness, realizing that, like the ants who form this mighty web or a bridge, when they have to accomplish something, they connect with other people, and they realize that, you know, they're all connected.
No, you said it, in the web. You know, we are all connected in a web of things. You know what it's called? It's called energy, because we're all energy. But yeah, we need to stop touching screens. And start touching. Oh, I don't want to say that the whole statement, because it might be seen as something different. But yeah, human connection is what I'm saying. Human connection. We need it. Everybody needs it.
Yeah, because without it, you have division. Obviously, we'd be talking about, but we have disconnection in the worst kind of ways. And you know, you and I have talked a lot about the paradox of being connected. Everybody's connected. There's a great electronic song. I wish I remembered the name of it. Maybe I'll remember it next time. Everybody's connected, but nobody's connecting.
Right.
And you know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm like sitting here thinking, like, man, what I'm talking about, what we're talking about, is like confusing, and it's almost contradictory. If I'm saying that correctly, because we were talking about selflessness, and then we're talking about going out and, you know, getting that human connection with other people. Gosh, selflessness, how does that have to do with anybody, other people? Yes, selflessness would think, somebody might even just think of defining that as a hermit on an island. He's selfless. He's only with himself, right? But I think understanding once again that we need each other, and in order to connect with everybody ultimately all the time, I'm not perfect, because there will be fights, there's conflicts, there's arguments, but it's learning to understand those. But
Right.
that's the whole
Finding the
process of
balance of ego.
becoming. You just said it. Finding the balance. Selflessness is finding the ultimate balance, because it is separating from yourself. So you can actually, it's like if I was to just separate from myself and be looking down on us watching this video, I'd probably be confused. Who is that?
Mm.
And that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's a
But yeah, it's another perspective. We need another perspective sometimes to be kicked out of our shell.
Yeah.
To have more awareness, understanding, to become more selfless.
Right. And not to, I know that there's a safety perspective, and then people can take this in another direction, say, oh, well, you're teaching children fear, but to just give an example, don't touch that, it'll burn you. When you're teaching children not to touch the oven, they're getting another perspective from somebody who sees it differently, and therefore they can say, okay, I need to think about that. I don't need to, before I become overly curious, I need to understand this other perspective. So we do need each other's perspectives. There's no way around that. We cannot survive and any kind of significant future if we don't realize that we need one another.
Yes, and we need to be curious, that's for sure. You said that, and I'm just like, oh, I love those words. Love, being curious, all these positive, like, wonder,
a lot of cures
imagination.
built into that.
It's not something that's fixed just to one point. It's everywhere. And I think that's a very important part of a key factor in the game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Well, trying to think of how we can wrap this up, because I know both of us are hiding shivers.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool out here.
But this is good. It's real. It's fresh. It's clean. It's beautiful in the country.
Yeah, I guess as I've interrupted you so many times already.
No, man, that's a part of being selfless. You got to
just, I think,
take the interruption.
A way to wrap this up would be just about every little lily pad we talked about here, or mentioned in some sort of way, whatever
Lily
rabbit
pads,
hole it took you down, or whatever it made you think about. Just try to wrap your head around what tomorrow will look like, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And what pattern are you going to build for yourself with the choices you make? And what are you going to shape and manifest in this year of 2021 and the next year? The stage is yours. You have all the free will in the world. You've just been given everything. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. I know we talked a lot about that. We've been wanting to talk a lot about that since Thanksgiving, and everything from how we eat, what you eat. It's the same thing with thought and emotion, and how 2020 would lead into 2021, and people would see the results of what they put in their bodies, whether it's food or thought. They're going to manifest. This is, a lot of people are talking about this year being, and we'll carry this over into another talk, but this is the year of manifestation.
Yeah, man.
Because people have invested, they're going to get a return. And what kind of return are you going to get? Is it going to be selflessness and unification, and people, just honoring the higher vibration of love? Ultimately, it's just the goodness that every major religious figure has taught about, the golden rule, doing unto others as you'd have do unto you. Are we going to manifest that, and that's going to come full circle, or are we going to get the other thing? And there's no judgment, because we can always choose to turn it around at any moment. But why would you want to wait and wait and wait?
The main thing, the main factor in this all is just make a choice. It doesn't matter what you choose, as long as you choose something. Because if you figure out that what you chose is not right, choose another way. Choose another way. Find your way. Find your joy. Be your love. Connect to your higher self. Right? I mean, it sounds so easy.
Again. Can you say that again if you can remember?
I don't know. I think I just said
flow.
Find your love. Find your I don't know. I said something about joy, love, into the higher self.
Well,
you know.
we obviously recorded it so we can
Yeah.
replay it ourselves, and you guys can always, replay it too. But that is where we're going to leave everybody
Yeah.
and leave ourselves with. Obviously, we'll continue to talk about this, but definitely something to think about as we wrap this up.
Hopefully this. Man, some people, it's amazing. I bet you it sounded pretty good, but I couldn't hear myself think for a moment. What was I going to say? Gosh, I guess it's a wrap. But
So this is where we're practicing our closing, and how would we want to close it?
yeah, no.
We choose an accent to our face.
Yes.
Until next time.
Also, I was just going to say, after I burped and then something on my cheek, is whatever you take from this, or don't. And if it starts a conversation, ends a conversation, starts a thought, ends a thought, starts a new beginning, whatever, man. Take it or leave it.
Absolutely. We will see you soon.
Goodbye.